most likely first step, it doesn't necessarily have to be this way, but the most likely first step is to get a house, okay? If you have a house and you're still using a PLOC, you need to get into a HELOC. Even if it's a small HELOC. If you're an instructor and you're still using an SLOC, you need to get out of there. So I hear a lot of students and instructors still on a secure line of credit. What are you doing in there? We have to get you out and move you into a PLOC. And I know it's comfortable and it's easy, but get out and start to leverage. You need to leverage that money that's tied up in the SLOC and put it in your PLOC and against debt. We got to pick up the pace and speed up the pace, okay? Now, once you go from a PLOC, you get your house, use the 101 system to pay down. So let's say this house, you have a house, 101 is going to help you pay it down. So when you pay down the balance, you can get a what? A HELOC on top of it. And when you get that HELOC, then we want you to start to knock it down, start paying it down, paying it down, paying it down, paying it down. Why? What does that do when you pay the HELOC down? Gives you what? It gives you availability. Availability in this HELOC. Now you can start to do things. One of the biggest factors that holds most average conventional investors back from buying another property is what? The DP, down payment. Because when you buy an investment property, now you're talking 20-30% down payment. And so you're looking like, for those of you in Hawaii, 20-30% down on a $700,000 house is very difficult. Even for us in Utah here, the houses are $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. 20-30% is rough. So now we create availability by using market conditions. Market conditions right now are what? Going up. So that means the value of our house is going up, and we're using 101 to pay it down. The difference between the balance and the value is called what? Equity. So now we're using market conditions to give us more equity. We're using 101, and we're the best student ever because we're focused on what? Buying assets, not stuff. Okay, good. So you can pay it down faster where you're not buying crap, and now you have this huge amount of equity which gives you availability. That availability in this HELOC, okay, so I'm going to turn this into a HELOC. I'm going to say this is your HELOC. This availability that you have in here will allow you to start to acquire more properties. Now, I'm not going to go into evaluating property because you've seen it yesterday. It's in Wealth Academy, but the properties we buy are properties that make money. I will never buy a property that makes no money unless we know for certain that it's going to shoot up in value quickly. And even then, it's still hard for me to buy. So we're buying for cash flow. Why? Because we're not in the social services business. We're not here to pay for somebody to live in our house. You know what I mean? Like I thought, oh yeah, it's only costing me like $100 or $200 a month to cover everything. What nonprofit do you work for? Rent Free America? Why are you paying for somebody's rent? Does that make sense? We want to make money. So people ask me, well, Alan, what do you want to make? I said, well, man, $200-300 is like gotta be. And that was at the beginning. Now it's hard for me to just make $200 or $300 a month it's just really hard. But at the beginning, that was good. So when you're starting a good target, $200-300 positive cash flow after everything's paid for. Okay, I would even include the down payment. Why? Because for us in 101, the down payment is going to come from where? This HELOC, this little piece of our HELOC. So we're paying what? Interest on that portion of the HELOC. So I calculate the interest that I use for the down payment into the purchase price and all the expenses, taxes, insurance, HOAs, property management, all that into the calculation before I do a deal. Make sense? Questions here? I know I'm moving fast. So now we have the HELOC, we have some availability, now we start looking for a deal. We start shopping. My first recommendation is to look in your neighborhood, areas that you are familiar with, okay? So if you live in Utah, maybe a couple areas. So I live in Alpine. Alpine is not really a good place to invest because it's just a bunch of rich white people there, and the houses are not good to rent. But I look in Pleasant Grove, American Fork, Orem, stuff like, what's that? Vineyard, yeah, Vineyard, we've looked at 12 plexes, 8 plexes there. So we've been looking. Here's the only problem. It's hard to make money here. Market conditions have put real estate in a situation where it doesn't make money. I mean, I get these deals, I look at it, I send it to Tony in our office in Wealth Academy. Tony, look at the spreadsheet, look at these projections. Alan, you're at a one cap. Okay, I said, darn it. I like this building, I like the location, but it's at a 1 cap, which means we're making no money. We're looking at 4 plexes in Pleasant PG and other in American Fork. No money. So Hawaii, same thing. Vegas, same thing. North Carolina, same thing. So unfortunately for us, in the markets that we live in, the real estate is going up as far as an investor. It's good for our what? Our HELOC to create more availability, but now it's like, shoot, how do I buy a property? And I'm not saying there's no deals. There is always a deal to find. You got to look around and get out there because you'll find these deals. Like, you know, Maui, I mean, you guys found a great deal, right? Like, how did you find that?
Me and Jody saw them online, and the curb appeal wasn't the nicest, so nobody was really looking at it. Even I wasn't gonna look at it, so the price range. And but when we had to look at it, we had to invest.
Yeah, it was a hidden gem. It was 5 houses on 1 lot. So what that did there is took out 90% of the population on Maui. 90% of the locals wouldn't buy it because they can't even buy 1 house unless they're on 101. So that took out 90%. The only other players were the international or the mainlanders that have money, but because there's no curb appeal, they're not familiar, so now that took them out of the game. So it led up to a great deal for a person that was ready. So 5 houses on 1 lot. You mind disclosing how much that was, or?
Well, they were original asking, 4 years ago, 1.6.
1.6, 4 years ago, what is it?
When we saw it, when we came down to 1.4, Jody, you know, we talked to her and she said, oh, I saw a house on West Korea, which a 6 acre.
You and your daughter were looking at the same property.
I saw it too, but you know, I was looking at that 1.4, you know. So she enticed me to go and look, and that's Jody. She's just and I'm glad. So we had to look, evaluate the homes. There's 3 bedrooms on the lot, 2 1 bedrooms on the lot, and all separate units. And so it's rented. So the whole bigger part of this story is, I don't know if you guys heard of Alan talking about the BHAG. This is something we had on our ice blocks.
It's called refrigerator, guys. Ice blocks in Hawaii is called a refrigerator. Just to be clear.
Refrigerator.
I haven't heard ice blocks since my grandma Tina was called ice blocks.
I know Uncle Bro knows what that is. Generation. But anyway, big, hairy, audacious goal. So our goal was to bring our family all living in one, because we grandkids. I mean, it's love of being around. So we're working hard to do that. And talking with Tony, my projection was actually 5 years from president, because that was the goal. So the overall school, but you know, talking about what they can, if you might share.
We gotta move quick.
Okay.
I have no time left, Earl. Just tell us what the price was.
we agreed on 1.275.
6 houses on Maui, 5 houses on Maui on 6 acres. Very good deal, but most people can't do that. How do they do that? Availability. Availability. The other way they did that was they had it as a goal. They had it as a goal. And so we're gonna ask you to create availability in your HELOC. Now, some markets are harder to get HELOCs, but if you really want it bad enough, you're gonna go find it. You're gonna make it happen. You're gonna dig and dig and dig, ask and ask and ask. Why? Because this is generational wealth. We're talking about you, your family, your kids, and your grandkids. You're building for the future long term, okay? So now we're gonna create this availability, and if you can find a deal in your backyard, do it. The best. But with market conditions, we can't, so what do? We look outside. We look outside. Now, how do you do it outside? Very difficult to do. I do not recommend doing it on your own. You will most likely fail because you don't know the markets, you don't know the players, you don't know the contractors or the realtors or any of those people, okay? So you have to look outside with, and the bottom line is that's why we pushed the Wealth Academy through quicker. So we needed partners to be able to do this. We saw, I've been doing this wealth building class for 14 years. And it's great, everybody loves it, but at the end of the day, when they go home, they can't do it. They can't do what we call 5 and 5. You guys see that? 5 and 5 or 5 and 10. This means 5 houses in 5 years. Or 5 houses, if you want to go slow, then 5 houses in 10 years. You couldn't do that because in Hawaii, the houses are 700. We can't do that in Utah because the houses in Monica's neighborhood are 700,000, right? It's not doable. So with Wealth Academy partners, we're looking at properties now that are in the $110,000, $120,000, $150,000 range. For those of you that have bought some, what level are they at? Who's closing on one here? Sarah?
We're closing on a brand new building versus a
160
160.
brand new, okay? So the ones that I looked at that we're acquiring, it was about 115, 120,000 Indiana, 130, 140 in I'm diversifying with mine. So Indiana, Tennessee, and Orlando, and they have higher cash flows in Indiana and Tennessee, lower cash flow in Orlando, but more appreciation. So again, I'm diversifying there. And so what that means is if we buy a $110,000 property, let's say this is in Indiana, $110,000 purchase price. We got a couple banks that can finance an investment property for only 20% down, so not 30. And as an investor, the way I think personally, this doesn't mean it has to be for you. I try to pull out as least amount of money out of my pocket as possible to acquire the property, so the least amount down. So if I can do 20% down instead of 30, I'm gonna do it. I'm trying to avoid PMI, private mortgage insurance. So 20% on 110 is how much? 22 to 25. So let's say we're pulling out 25,000 as a what? Down payment. We do all the calculations so we know through the report, and our partners provide very detailed reports on every line item, every expense, projected rents that are very, very close to being right on. So we can take their numbers, their research, leverage their network of thousands of homes to help us acquire these properties. And you're gonna see anywhere between $200 to $350 in positive cash flow. Okay, and then in here they also put away for like maintenance costs, higher end maintenance costs, but you still get the money. And of course we put that back in where. So your cash was a little bit higher, but you're reserving that maintenance cost in where?